August 1944, the searing sun bakes the French countryside. Among the endless fields of wheat and sunflowers, a battle rages that will decide the fate of thousands. And for one young American private, it will change his life forever. This is the story of the Battle of Falaise Pocket, fought between August and September 1944. At the end of July 1944, Allied troops broke through the German defenses in western France, opening up a hole in the enemy lines 60 miles wide and 30 miles deep. Flying back to base, German Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt ordered his forces to seal the gap. But before they could close the breach, elements of the U.S. 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions, along with British commandos, seized several bridges near the town of Falaise, cutting off the retreat of the panicking Germans. Surrounded and trapped, German commanders raced to reinforce their positions, desperately attempting to stop the Allied advance. U.S. forces were quick to capitalize on the opportunity and surged forward, eager to crush the enemy once and for all. But not all went according to plan. The fighting becoming increasingly chaotic and deadly, American forces soon found themselves battling not just the enemy, but also nature's wrath. Storms flooded the trenches, forcing soldiers to spend long periods of time knee-deep in cold water. To make matters worse, torrential rain made the land impassable, trapping infantry and vehicles alike in thick, sticky mud. And then came the infamous mosquitoes. These relentless insects swarmed around the Allied camps, biting and biting again, aggravating open wounds and spreading disease. Sleep became a luxury, and the relentless buzz of wings, an unbearable soundtrack to their struggle. Despite these challenges, General Omar Bradley, commander of the 12th Army Group, saw an opportunity to deliver a knockout blow. With the Germans trapped between two formidable Allied forces, he believed he had them at his mercy. It was a golden chance to inflict massive casualties and possibly end the war in Europe, right here. Bradley gave his forces the green light to close in on the beleaguered Germans, confident that victory was within reach. But little did he know, the Germans had a few tricks up their sleeves yet. As the Allied troops advanced, the Germans fought back with unexpected ferocity, halting the advance and killing or wounding countless Allied soldiers. Trapped in a shrinking pocket, the Germans turned desperate. And as they fought, the situation became clear. The Americans had entered a hornet's nest. It was time for everyone to pay the piper. Bradley realized that his initial assessment might have been overly optimistic. Closing in on the Germans would not be easy. Germans had dug in, reinforced their positions, and were ready to fight tooth and nail. He knew he had to rethink his strategy or risk a costly stalemate. And so the Allied forces adapted, changing their tactics to match the German defenses. The pressure mounted, and the Germans began to feel the squeeze. Days turned into nights as the Allied forces tightened their grip on the pocket. Each hour brought the Germans closer to collapse. But in the midst of the chaos, something incredible happened. A single butterfly fluttered amid the carnage, symbolizing the resilience of nature in the face of man's brutality. Its presence a stark contrast to the violence surrounding it. Mid the fighting, the butterfly remained oblivious, clinging to life amidst the ruins. It was a sight that stopped soldiers in their tracks, reminding them of the beauty that still existed in the world. It served as a silent testament to the horrors of war, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, life and hope endure. For Private James Walker, a young African-American soldier fighting with the 92nd Infantry Division, the battle took a sudden turn. Just as he thought the worst was over, disaster struck. On August 17, 1944, while walking with his fellow soldiers, he stepped on a landmine. The explosion threw him into the air, and when he came to, he found himself lying in a cloud of smoke, his body racked with pain. Dazed, he looked down to see blood staining the ground beneath him. Private Walker had been seriously wounded, and his life hung in the balance. Despite the immense pain, Walker managed to crawl to safety, his fellow soldiers rushing to his aid. They quickly realized the severity of his injuries and the need for immediate medical attention. But with the battle raging and medical facilities stretched thin, it seemed like Private Walker's chances of survival were slim. They did their best to stabilize him, knowing every moment could be crucial. But without proper medical care, his injuries could worsen rapidly. Meanwhile, the battle raged on around them, the sounds of combat fading in and out of consciousness. For Private Walker, each passing moment was a gamble with fate. The combination of the explosion, the journey to safety, and the lack of immediate medical treatment took a heavy toll on his physical and mental state. He likely experienced a whirlwind of emotions, from the initial shock and pain to fear for his life and the confusion that often accompanies severe trauma. As he lay there, his thoughts probably raced, hoping for help to arrive in time, worrying about whether he would survive, and grappling with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Walker was evacuated to a field hospital, his condition critical. The coming days would be a blur of pain, surgery, and uncertainty. He likely underwent extensive procedures to repair the damage caused by the blast. The medical staff, working tirelessly in challenging conditions, did their best to save his life. But the true test was not just the physical recovery, but also overcoming the psychological trauma of the experience. The landmine blast had not only injured him physically, but had shaken him to his core. The mental and emotional scars of such a traumatic event can be just as profound and long-lasting as the physical ones. As Walker lay in the hospital, his mind grappled with the aftermath of the blast, the events leading up to that moment, and the uncertainty of his future. It was a testament to his resilience and the quality of medical care he received that he was able to not only survive, but eventually return to duty. His story, like that of many other soldiers, is a powerful reminder of the full spectrum of impact that war can have on individuals. On September 2, 1944, the German commander committed suicide. Without leadership, the remaining German troops surrendered. The Battle of Falaise Pocket had ended. Tens of thousands of German soldiers were captured, but the cost was high. Allied casualties totaled nearly 13,000, including 4,000 American. The Germans were devastated, having lost their chance to break out of the Falaise Pocket. Their army was weaker now, demoralized and depleted, and the race to Berlin had begun. The defeat at Falaise marked a turning point in World War II. Germany's military might was significantly weakened, and the tide of war had undeniably shifted. The Allies exploited this momentum, driving deeper into enemy territory and inching closer to victory. But as the war continued, the human cost of conflict became increasingly evident. Graves filled the landscape, serving as grim reminders of the lives lost. The survivors carried the invisible wounds of trauma and loss, forever marked by their experiences. Private James Walker returned to his unit after recovering from his wounds, his spirit unbroken, his resolve strengthened by the ordeal. The Battle of Falaise Pocket may have been over, but for Walker and countless others, their journey of healing and remembrance had just begun. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to like and subscribe. If you'd like to learn more about similar topics, check out the series World War II in Real Time. Thanks for watching.